Today, we're going to explore a really powerful concept, one that honestly challenges our most basic gut instincts. And to really understand its strength, we have to start with something, well, something very, very small. Just think about it for a second. That high-pitched, annoying whine right next to your head when you're trying to sleep. For pretty much all of us, the reaction is instant, isn't it? A quick slap. It's automatic. We don't even think. But what if there was another way? And that question leads us to a man named Dinker Uncle. At his workplace, he was known for this peculiar habit. While everyone else was swatting flies and mosquitoes, he would patiently trap every single insect he found in a glass, cover it, and then just release it outside. Now, that might seem like a small act, but it points to a really profound philosophy. So profound, in fact, that his coworkers didn't just see him as a good man. They started calling him a god man. So what was it that was guiding Dinker Uncle? I mean, this clearly wasn't just about being nice to bugs. No, he was following what many ancient scriptures call the highest law of all. That law is called Ahimsa. You might have heard it translated as nonviolence or non-harm, but it's so much more than just a suggestion. It's considered a paramadharma, which means it's the supreme ethical duty. It's this core idea that causing harm to any living creature in any way is fundamentally against the natural order of things. And these aren't some vague, fuzzy principles. In scriptures like the Shikshapatri, which is a key text on ethics, the rules are absolutely crystal clear. They say you should never intentionally kill any living creature, not even those small insects. You should never kill animals as part of religious sacrifices. And of course, you should never kill another person for wealth or power or any other reason. It sets an incredibly high bar for how to live your life. But if you can believe it, practicing ahimsa gets even more challenging. It goes way beyond just the physical act of hitting or killing. It asks us to look at the kind of harm that we can't always see. You see, ahimsa actually distinguishes between two different kinds of harm. First, there's gross violence. That's the obvious stuff, right? Physical attacks, things we can all see. But then there's subtle violence, and this is far, far more common. This is the harm we do with our words, with insults, humiliation, and even just with our own negative thoughts and ill will. According to this philosophy, that unseen violence is just as real and just as damaging. The scriptures teach that a verbal wound can actually be much deeper and more painful than a physical one. And this is exactly why Dinker Uncle's story isn't just about saving insects. He was also known for never, ever speaking ill of anyone. He understood that true nonviolence had to be practiced in your thoughts and in your words, not just with your actions. So the principle keeps building from here, all the way to its most absolute form. I mean, think about it. If ahimsa applies to every living being, then logically it also has to apply to the one person we know best, ourself. And this is probably the most profound extension of the entire principle. Harming yourself is also considered a form of violence. And because of that, suicide, under any circumstance, is seen as the ultimate violation of ahimsa. And the scriptures are incredibly thorough here. They make it clear that taking one's own life is forbidden, no matter what the reason is, whether it's to escape pain or illness or some deep emotional turmoil like shame or fear. It's even prohibited if you're in a holy place or if you're doing it for some misguided idea of religious merit. The sanctity of life, including your own, is totally absolute. Okay, so let's be real. This all sounds incredibly difficult, right? To never harm a thing, to never speak badly of anyone, to never even think ill of another person, and then to face all of life's suffering without ever, ever considering self-harm. Where on earth does a person find that kind of strength? This really is the core question, because it's one thing to understand the ideal of ahimsa, but it's a completely different thing to actually live it, especially when life gets really hard. The answer, according to these teachings, doesn't just come from willpower. It comes from a very specific spiritual mindset. So according to these teachings, this incredible inner strength is built on a framework of 4 core beliefs. You can almost think of them as the 4 pillars that hold up your inner peace, making it possible to practice ahimsa even when everything around you feels like it's falling apart. These 4 beliefs create this really powerful mindset that God is the all-doer, that God is merciful, that God is our protector, and that ultimately God will resolve all our difficulties. Now, believing this isn't about ignoring your problems. Not at all. It's about fundamentally shifting the psychological burden from your shoulders to somewhere else. It's a way to build deep trust and acceptance, even in the middle of a crisis. And this brings us right back to our opening story, This spiritual perspective is the engine behind everything Dinker Uncle did. It's why he could be so patient with a tiny insect, so kind with his words, and why he radiated a peace so profound that his coworkers saw something divine in him. You see, his nonviolence wasn't just a behavior he adopted, it was the natural outward expression of his inner faith. So we've explored Ahimsa from the physical all the way to the subtle, from insects to our own selves. So the final step really is to turn this whole lens inward. So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. If it's true that violence really begins in the mind, with our judgments, our anger, our ill will, what is the very first thought pattern you could begin to change? It's a challenging idea for sure, but just like Dinker Uncle showed us, sometimes the most profound changes start with the smallest, most conscious steps.